Hey guys, Lytane here, and I've been telling you so often that I love Disney, and it's true, but I also love their best friend company, Pixar. Pixar have done so many different films over the years, and I want to have a look at one of them today. So, I'm going to be seeing if The Incredibles is worth it. Pixar has a very long and interesting history. Starting out as a graphic company for George Lucas's company Lucasfilm, they mostly made tech to be used by other special effects artists. A lot of the staff were animators and they dreamed of creating some animation with computers, but after Star Wars Return of the Jedi finished, Lucas dropped the company as he didn't have a use for it anymore. It was instead bought by Steve Jobs, you know, the guy that owns Apple. He believed in the company and kept it afloat while they still mostly worked on tech. They tried creating animation, but it proved way too expensive and time consuming for the time, though it was groundbreaking, especially when they made their first short, The Pixar Lamp. This is when Disney took a shine to them and they used some of their tech on their movies, including Beauty and the Beast. They saw the potential for something to be made with this and saw that Pixar was working on bringing it really to life. Disney made a deal with Pixar to make 3 original films, which started with Toy Story. But soon after this, things became a little rocky between Disney and Pixar because they both had different ideas of how to run a company and what stories they should focus on. The Incredibles was one of the films released during these really tense times. In 2004, it is the 6th film to come out of Pixar and the first one to star humans. This movie starts with the marriage of 2 superheroes, Mr. Incredible, who is super strong, and Elastigirl, who can stretch and reshape her body. On the way to the wedding, Mr. Incredible stops a bank robbery while dealing with an annoying kid that keeps getting in his way. He still gets married, but this happiness is short-lived when one of the victims sues Mr. Incredible for saving his life. How stupid is that? Because apparently he was injured during the save and he didn't want to be saved. This starts an avalanche of other lawsuits, and so the government shuts down the Supers program and puts them all into hiding. Flash forward years later, and now Mr. Incredible, or should I call him Bob as he's not a super anymore, is a family man working in a dead-end job that crushes his soul. He longs to be a superhero, but he needs to take care of his family who also have powers. But strange things are stirring and the world might just need something incredible to save it. Part of the reason why I told you a brief history of Disney and Pixar is to show you how times have changed and how Disney really impacted the company. Today, Disney and Pixar are best friends, with Disney owning most of Pixar, so they have the creative control over it. But even though they have this creative control, they don't do anything with it. They just own the majority of the company and they let Pixar do whatever they want, essentially. But this film came out during that big tension between Disney and Pixar, and I honestly think it shows in the film. The Incredibles is about a family that love working together and love doing what they do and do it in their own unique way. They are super, so they handle things differently from the rest of the world. They have their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and they work together well as a group. Disney, I mean the government, is putting a stop to these creative ideas. I mean supers, why do I keep saying the wrong thing? And because of this, the people that used to be really creative and have all these ideas feel oppressed and stuck, and they didn't have like a soul anymore. And it really comes out through the beginning parts of this film. Then we have the main villain of the film, Syndrome, who's trying to take away what makes the supers special and just make it into a thing that can be mass produced and given to everybody, which is something that Disney were trying to do with Pixar. They said, we own the rights to Toy Story, so we can do whatever we want. And because this was around the time when they were doing their sequel-itis, making sequels to absolutely everything, they wanted to make a sequel to Toy Story and do it with their own company. And it was probably going to be crap, knowing how most of the other Disney sequels were going. It's not a good track record. What was happening in real life really shaped this film, and they didn't do it in a nasty way, like saying that Disney is evil or anything like that. And if you just watch the film, there's no way you would even know about it. But knowing a little bit of this history does make the film take a little bit of a different tone if you were to re-watch it. Or I'm just looking way too into this. Maybe. Just maybe. So let's change gears and talk about the actual movie. One thing that Pixar tries to do is new things every single time they make a film. They try to do the hard and the impossible, pushing the boundaries of their technology. The reason why Toy Story was toys was because they couldn't make humans very well. Humans were all too complex, but a toy, that could look a little bit off and strange, but still be fine. That's why it took years before they made The Incredibles, the first human-centric movie. The animation for this film is top-notch, which is really to be expected with Pixar. You must also remember that this movie was made in 2004, so the graphics have improved over the years, but the movie still looks great. Some of the effects are a little blocky, and some lack a lot of detail, but the cartoon style, inspired by a 40s theme, really help it pop and keep it from being ugly. But the main draw, of course, is the story of this film, and it is a simple one at that a lot of people can relate to, even though it has superpowers and stuff. Bob is going through a midlife crisis, and all he wants to do is relive his glory days, you know, saving people and being a super, but now he's stuck in this soulless, dead-end job, and he just wants to go back to the good old days. So when an opportunity comes knocking at his door to be super, of course he does so. He's like, yes, I really want to do this. And he doesn't really question what's going on, he just does it because he really wants to. This is paralleled by the B story, which is Helen, Elastigirl, just being normal, just being a mum, trying to get the kids food on their plates, trying to teach them right and wrong, trying to help with their homework, all of the normal mum stuff. And even though it's this normal family with these superpowers, they really ground the first half of the film in a sense of normalcy. Before, of course, they use their powers and they try and save the day. Each character has distinct personality and look to them, and their powers even reflect their personalities. Bob wants to carry the weight of the world and the family on his shoulders, so he is strong. Helen stretches to be the many roles a mum has to be, so she is elastic. Violet is an awkward, shy teenager that doesn't want to be seen by her peers in fear of embarrassment, so she becomes invisible. Dash is the hyper middle child. He has boundless energies and wants to be noticed, so he is super fast. Jack is a baby, so he has all the potential in the world, or a jack of all trades as it were, so he has quite a few powers that he can't control. They are all really interesting and each have chances to grow and shine and work together, which is good, showcasing their powers and using them in fun and unique ways. But what are superheroes if they do not have a super villain? Syndrome is this movie's main villain, and he is a very interesting villain. Just like a Lex Luthor, he doesn't have superpowers, but he goes up against supers. The way he does this is tech. He is incredibly smart, so he builds rocket shoes, he builds like anti-gravity rings, he builds an AI robot that can go on a killing spree. He has all of these great ideas and he puts them to use, and he's not really wrong in what he's trying to do, it's just about how he's going about it. Syndrome's idea is to give everybody this technology, to give everybody the chance to fly, to give everybody a chance to become strong. And that's not a bad thing. He just doesn't want everybody to be unspecial. He's going about it the wrong way because he's creating a disaster in the city that only he could, survive and solve in order to gain the popularity, so then he can give away all of his tech, or sell his tech probably, to all the different people in order to make them special like he is. But of course, trying to destroy a city is not a good thing. He's also killing off superheroes because he doesn't want the competition and because he doesn't want his thing to be stopped by somebody else. He wants to be the hero here. So he's not really a good guy, and he's incredibly creepy and he's a lot of fun, but he doesn't have a bad idea. It's just executed really evilly. He's a fairly complex character as well, and even though we have a family of superheroes with all different abilities, not one of them lays a finger on Syndrome. He is actually really threatening. He stops them every single time, and the only character to ever lay a finger on him is Jack. And that only happens because he physically picks up the baby. He isn't even stopped by the Incredibles, really. It's his own stupidity that stops him. So I really like this change in character and stuff. Like, it's not the family that has to stop him, and even though they all work together, they can't put a stop to him. He is that much of a threat. I really enjoy the idea that Jack, the one family member that has the least screen time in the entire movie, is the one that really sort of stops Syndrome. I love how it was unpredictable and no one would think that this baby would save the day, especially the way that he does. This cements the whole family as the Incredibles, the heroes that they all are. It is only magnified right at the end when the Underminer comes out from the ground to be a bad guy, and the whole family doesn't even hesitate to put on their suits to stop him. That's where the movie ends, on this little cliffhanger, and it ends with some pretty kick-ass music and great looking credits. The 40s style spy and superhero film to the music is fantastic, and I think it really adds so much to the film. I hear the main theme and I get excited, and I don't know about you, but it just makes me energized. It's really cool. That's why, in my opinion, I think that The Incredibles is worth it. It is a Pixar Disney film, so I'm gonna probably say it's worth it regardless because I damn love it. This movie has so much fun to it. The powers are not overbearing or overused, and each person has a great personality to go with it. The fact that they have this realized central plot at the beginning, which is so human and so normal, in order to show off the fantastic side, the incredible side of the film later, is just a really good idea. The villain is very threatening, and the idea that he has is not a bad one, it's just how he's going about it that's bad. And I do like the fact that each of the characters has a time to shine, and that they don't use their powers by themselves all the time. They go with other family members and use powers in tandem. I think that's really, really good, especially towards the final fight where everybody's doing their thing. Even Frozone, which is not even part of the family, gets to do some stuff with his powers of ice, which is really fun. Honestly, I don't even have very many things bad to say about this film. The one thing is that the Pizza Planet truck, which is in every single Pixar film, is not in this film because the guy that made it, Brad Bird, had no idea that he had to put the pizza truck in because they didn't tell him about it. He did know about the Luxo Ball and the A113 mention, and he knew about the casting of John Ratzenberger. Is that his name? I'm pretty sure it's Ratzenberger, who's their lucky charm of Pixar. He's in every single film as a voice actor for some part of it. He knew about those ones, but he didn't know about Pizza Truck, so this movie's not worth it anymore. Pizza Truck's not in there, not even any point. As a side note, the DVD comes with a special feature called Jack Attacks, and Jack Attacks is amazing. I actually really love it. It just shows Kari, the babysitter, with what she was dealing with when Jack just went all crazy with all of his powers. It is hilarious and a good setup for actually, Incredibles 2. So I recommend that short as well. So tell me what you thought about The Incredibles. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Is it one of your more favorite Pixar films? Is it one of the worst Pixar films to you? Did you see Incredibles 2? Because I did, and that's why I wanted to do this review. And I thought Incredibles 2 was fairly good, and I love that my girlfriend and I watched The Incredibles 1 the day before we watched Incredibles 2, and the change in animation style and how much it's been upgraded over the last 14 years. Crazy how technology works. I love it. But anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! So today I want to have a look at one of their first movies, and their first movies that stars a superhero family. So today I'm going to be looking at... Should have had this prepared. Rookie mistake.